So today we're going to talk about man-made structures and how they can actually benefit ocean ecosystems. Now, you may be thinking, wait a second, what? That makes no sense. You think of man-made objects or human-made influence, it's often never really good. You think about all the rubbish that washes up on our beaches. You think of plastic bottles, you think of oil spills, you think of all the negative impacts. But what if I told you that some things that we do, not even necessarily intentionally, have a positive impact on our oceans? That's crazy. Let me give you an example. You think of the Yongala. So the Yongala is a wreck dive of an old vessel that sunk in a cyclone. And it has a ridiculous amount of life. There's so many fish you can't even see the boat. It brings in big predator fish, it brings in sea snakes, it brings in sharks, it brings in everything from around because there is nothing else around. You've got the Great Barrier Reef on one side and land on the other side, but nothing in between except for this wreck. And this attracts all the fish and sharks and snakes and everything to this wreck. It created an artificial reef, which created a new source of life, a new place for fish and animals to breathe safely, because there's lots of nooks and crannies for smaller fish to feel safe from the bigger fish, and the bigger fish are always patrolling around, having a look for an easy meal. And it's incredible to see the evidence of how something that happened accidentally has become an awesome place for fish to come to. You've got corals who have found their way to the Yongala wreck, and they plant themselves on the wreck, creating even more habitats and more protection. Nature is taking back what we have put in a very positive way. We have created an entire reef that is not part of the Great Barrier Reef, and that's awesome. But that's not the only example. There are lots of wrecks out there that attract fish to them, provide safety and homes for them, and also provides a good hunting ground for the bigger fish and the sharks. So that's really cool as well. But then it goes beyond that. So you think about going down to a jetty, and you're having a good day, it's a good Sunday afternoon, the sun's just warm enough on your skin, you're having a great day. You toss your line over the jetty, and you catch a fish or a squid. That's awesome. But the fish and squid are actually drawn to the jetty because the jetty provides a habitat for them. So jetties will have corals or algae or kelps growing along the pylons. Sometimes parts of the jetty break and fall down to the bottom, creating little structures, little safety areas for smaller fish to hide in, to breed in. It's a positive impact that humans have made, not necessarily intentionally. A human-made object that has unintentionally created habitat for our environments. And it's awesome to see that a lot of fish are attracted to these jetties, despite the fact there is probably a higher than average predation rate from us. the amount of habitat it provides is clearly good enough for these fish to give them a home. And it is awesome to do a jetty dive. It's awesome to see all the fish around. And it's cool to see how we can have a really positive influence on the oceans through our structures. It's coexistence, helping the oceans as well as helping us. That is awesome. There are industrial jetties out there that move grain from silos to ships. Sometimes some of that grain falls off the jetty. It feeds the fish populations. It provides habitat. It's a really awesome thing to see. It's really awesome that the fish are able to use our structures to help them breed up, to give them safety, and also to see some bigger fish hunt some smaller ones. But more often with jetties, it's protection. So nature has found a way to take back and create from our influence in a very positive way. So that's really cool to see. And then we can go even further than that. So now in coral restoration programs, we put artificial reefs in, and then sometimes it's just metal, like a metal spike or metal stake, and you put it in, or no, it's a star picket. Sometimes it's even just a metal star picket where they put it down and just allow reef to come grow on it. Sometimes if there's a coral that's freshly been broken by a storm or by a tourist, by accident, or by anything, you can grab that piece of coral and then tie it, like zip tie it or latch it onto this metal star picket, and it has the possibility to regrow using that star picket as a substrate. So that is a really good way to do reef restoration and help expand and grow the environment. So a man-made influence isn't always negative, but there are still negative parts to it. I am not saying, oh, well, let's start throwing plastic bottles into the ocean because it's good for the environment. No, that is not what I'm saying. That is still bad. Like, that's not what I'm saying. Fishing nets, plastic pollution, all that stuff, really bad. Accidental shipwrecks, or sometimes intentionally sunk shipwrecks, where it's mostly metal or fiberglass or wood, would be good for the environment because then nature takes back. You think about jetties. Jetty pylons are often wood, so that's good for the environment. But if you start throwing plastic bottles in, nets and line that can tangle up fish, that's not so good. There are still a lot of really negative impacts that humans have put into the ocean that needs to be sorted out, but there's also some positive ones too. All right, thank you for listening to the video. I hope you learned something. You're all amazing. Take care, and bye-bye.